please. You'll set me off right at the start. I have a reputation as a bitch to defend. I can't be seen in tears right now. It's not good. Friends, it is great to be back with you at Restoration Weekend. I can't tell you, and what a year it's been. It's been emotional, right? It's really been one. My name is Katie Hopkins, or Milo's mum. I am a straight, white, Christian conservative and a married mother of 3 under 15. Unlike my Muslim friends who have 15 under the age of 3. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't have any Muslim friends. Can't risk it. All their kids are called Muhammad. Or when they're feeling creative, Muhammad. If I call Muhammad in a school playground in the UK, 452 kids come running. Most of them not that attractive. We are not adding to the gene pool, people. In this last year, I have lost 2 jobs, been forced out of my family home, banned from state schools in Wales and Scotland. Those are irrelevant places. And I have lost my right of entry to South Africa. I would add my lost dignity to that list, but that went a very long time ago. Ask any of my former husbands. Can tell by the way I walk. Dignity is highly overrated, as demonstrated by Meghan Markle on a daily basis. Walking about with the price tag dangling from her clothes. Pregnant faster than a Mexican migrant seeking asylum on the Rio Grande. My job is to find the truths not being told wherever that may be. No-go zones in Sweden, migrant camps in France, inside Dearborn's largest mosque, inside Palestine, the black gangs of South Africa, or the dirtier parts of San Fran, and I'm talking about Mad Maxine right there. But make no mistake, we are at war, and our civilization is under attack. And there are 3 prongs to this offensive by the globalists. Number 1, destroy the family and societal norms. Say marriage is old-fashioned. Say we won't make Father's Day cards this year at school, kids, because half of you haven't got a clue who the hell they might be. Say it takes a village to raise a child, and then find out the product of that village is actually an idiot. Say that men are now women and make being trans a movement. For the unacquainted, the trans movement is in fact a euphemism, a wordplay designed to make the shared beliefs of the mentally unstable sound like a shipping company that's going places. UPS, DHL, the trans movement. The trans movement is no such thing. It is a perversion of our very selves. It states that biological sex and gender are 2 different things, and that gender is a linear scale of masculinity and femininity, and we all identify with the gender that we feel. Hence, we must now respect that David is called Daniela because that's what he felt like when he woke up this morning, scratching his testicles, trying to shove his morning glory into a lace-fronted thought. Too much? Too much. Pull it back. Too rude for America. Too rude for America. Are you okay? There's some elderly people in here. I'm frightened they might not survive this shit. If anyone needs emergency help, please raise your hand and someone will come forward. Save me from Katie Hopkins. She's too rude. This perversion is drummed into our kids at school, lauded in our colleges, and any hint of disapproval is now a hate crime in the UK. We now have men who identify as women placed in female prisons, such as Her Majesty's Prison in Newhall in Yorkshire. Recently, a male rapist decided he now identified as a woman. And we transferred him to a women's prison called Francine, all 25 stone of him. What do you think happened next, which is less of a laughing matter? This is an actual quote from a British tabloid that I used to work for, from a female inmate. The alleged victim said, "The recently arrived prisoner stood close to her and touched her arm whilst her erect penis was sticking out from the top of her trousers." Her penis? My arse. Oh, where did I leave my penis this morning? I can't find it for the life of me, and I have looked everywhere. The Girl Guides just announced that boys who identify as girls can go on Girl Guide camp and share showers and tents with our daughters. I used to be a Girl Guide. I know, you can't tell. I hated it. My mother made me go because she thought it would make me a better person, and it failed. Clearly. It made me hate fat women who were scared of deodorant and dressed in blue. That was it. But I can tell you this, as a former Girl Guider, dib, dib, dob, dob. If I ever saw a little chipolata in the showers with me, I'd sew a goddamn cake baking badge on it so fast with a blunt needle. A Dutch pensioner has started a legal battle to change his age and boost his dating prospects. Emile, age 69, some of you will identify. He wants to change his birthday from 1949 to 1969, comparing the change to identifying as being transgender. You can change your name, you can change your gender, why not your age? He said. You can see his point, right? He said it will improve his employment chances and his success on the dating app, which I'm sure many of you use, Tinder. He said, "When I'm on Tinder and I say I'm 69, I don't get an answer. But when I'm 49 with the face I have, I will be in a luxurious position." Emile, mate, if I get on Tinder with the face I have at 43, I can scare straight men gay. Second up, the globalists want to change the fabric of our country, removing any sense of place or belonging. Western Europe has led the way in this regard, destroying the entire fabric of the places we used to call home. So the elderly feel isolated and nobody feels like they belong anymore. Stop someone on the streets of the UK and ask what they think British values are, and they will look at you with the West Palm Beach Country Club 50-yard stare. In the UK, the combined population of all ethnic minority groups will exceed the white population of Britain in less than 40 years. In Londonistan, white Brits are already a minority. 1 in 3 come from overseas. And whites are a minority in the majority of our cities, our major cities, Leicester, Luton and Birmingham, or as our Donald will say, God rest his soul, shithole cities. We have a Muslim police association, a Muslim housing association, and we have Muslim schools to facilitate their needs. These are densely packed populations, living in isolation from our own Western culture, from your American culture. And they have a very important role to play in the fall of our countries. They vote according to religion. Look at the power wielded by Sadiq Khan, our nipple-height Muslim mayor of London. He is about as useful as tits on a nun. And I'm a convent girl. I know. But secure in his position because of his religion and the high-density Muslim population in the boroughs of London, well rewarded for their political loyalty, he knows he will stay in power. He threw them all an Eid party. Eid is the end of Ramadan, yeah? He threw them an Eid party in the heart of London in Trafalgar Square. I don't know if any of you saw, please do watch Theresa May's Eid video. Did you see? She looked like she was being taken hostage by ISIS. Thank you to all of the British Muslims. Thank you for everything you do for us. It was a hostage video through and through. I was like, Theresa May, blink twice if you need saving. And of course, I went to the Eid party at Trafalgar Square just to, spoil their fun, remind them I was there. But once you tell this crowd that Allah wants you to vote for Omar, succession is all but guaranteed. I watched Ilhan Omar win Minnesota's 5th congressional district with a heavy heart. Didn't she marry her brother? Interbreeding is how we ended up with Chelsea Clinton, guys. You'd think we'd learn. The first Muslim woman to serve in the US Congress, replacing the first Muslim man to serve in Congress, Keith Ellison. Power is passed from Muslim to Muslim, regardless of their policies, because they have a guaranteed tenure, insulated against competition because religion is everything to these people. Rashida Tlaib won Michigan's 13th congressional district for precisely the same reason. Rashida was born in Detroit, Michigan, to working-class Palestinian immigrants. And whose flag do you think she waved when her victory was announced? Why do we still act surprised when anti-Semitism is being hardwired into our Western and American cultures? Belgium is the end point of all of this. And no one wants to be Belgium. Not even Belgium wants to be Belgium. In fact, 60% of Belgian people wish they were born somewhere else or not at all. They're even further down the road to the fiery pit of hell than the UK. They have an actual party called the Islam Party, which has 2 elective representatives in 2012 and fielded 28 candidates in 2018. Their policies are segregated transport, mandatory headscarves for women, and halal food. This is Belgium, as in Europe, as in Brussels, as in the EU, as in suit-wearing Angela Merkel. I could murder both my parents in the middle of the night, eat their livers for breakfast, and still be back in Brussels wearing a pantsuit at 7 a.m. to discuss agricultural policy because I'm that autistic. Anywho, I'm not a fan. Inside Belgium is the municipality called Molenbeek. You may have heard of it. So-called jihadi capital of Europe. It's only 3 square miles wide, long. That's 2 laps of the breakers. And it's home to less than 100,000 people. That's like the south wing of the breakers. But in Molenbeek, most people are called Mohammed. And yet it has 22 mosques in a 3 square mile area. As the Belgian Prime Minister rightly points out, almost every time there's a terror attack, there is a link with Molenbeek. And it's true. The November 2015 Paris attacks, the bombings at Brussels Airport and the city's metro station, the weapons used in the Charlie Hebdo attack, the jihadi attack on the Amsterdam to Paris high-speed train, all linked to that 3 mile square area in Belgium. So it was only natural that I should go. I wanted to know what the hell was going on, and I tracked down the mayor, a female, a non-Muslim. But because she depends on the Muslim votes, she deliberately looks the other way, refusing to not see the unregistered mosques in plain sight, to be blind to the garages and the car washes where you can watch drugs and weapons arrive and then just disappear, to refuse to hear the reports of a new Iranian mosque just down by the river funneling black money to the jihadis and promoting the endeavors of the Islamic State. I watched that mosque in operation from the other side of the river. In October 2015, the mayor was given a list of 80 ISIS terrorists in Molenbeek that were planning an attack. She was given their addresses. She was told an attack was imminent. 1 month later, 130 people were slaughtered on the streets of Paris. 90 at the Bataclan alone. Do you remember those pictures of the Bataclan? And those victims were mutilated on the ground where they lay. And the main perpetrator of that attack came from Molenbeek and returned to Molenbeek to be hidden by the community that supported his endeavors and the progressives there who didn't want to be the ones to tell the police. I spoke to an emeritus professor. I have him on tape. He told me he didn't want to admit that the man behind the Bataclan killings was someone he knew, a face he recognized, because he didn't want to destroy his institution's relationship with the community and his access to funding. I went to that mayor, Francois Schepman, and I said, you knew, and you did nothing. You could have stopped them, and you did nothing. And you know what she said? She said, it's not my job. And I wept with rage right there on the street. But you see, this is what happens when you have political power and you need the votes of Muslims who hate your culture, who seek to destroy the country you know, and whose true ambition is the Islamic takeover of your country. These so-called leaders are complicit in our fall. My report from Molenbeek was featured on Fox News, thanks to Tucker. And in retaliation, the mayor said she was suing me for defamation, defaming the jihadi capital of Europe. I mean, that's hard. That's like trying to defame Brenda Snipes. Like, it's almost impossible right now. Third up, they screw with our democracy. If it weren't enough to mess with the family unit and flood a country with foreigners, our democracy is under attack. We are losing faith in our democracy, and with that, our social contract, where we submit to the authority of a leader or the decision of the majority in exchange for protection of our remaining freedoms and rights, such that they are. According to Rousseau, fail to deliver the will of the people, and citizens can withdraw their obligation to obey, or change the leadership through elections, or by other means, including, where necessary, violence. In Britain, it's been brutal. Give people a referendum on the EU, tell them to vote leave or remain, send a leaflet through every home, every door in the country, and say on that leaflet, I still have it, we will implement whatever you decide, and then don't. Spend 2 long years launching every attack dog the establishment has in its armory at the Brexiteers, and then produce a deal that sucks harder than Nancy Pelosi without her dentures. That's pretty sucky. And so that deal will be rejected, and then all roads lead back to Remain. Close to 18 million people in Brexit, brave Brexiteers who dared to dream. Nearly a third of the electorate told your vote doesn't count, that we should vote again because we got the answer wrong. Or here in America, unbelievably to an outsider, count a vote, but then find a reason to count it again, or find some more votes, or say there was something about a paperclip, or that the machines broke down, or have someone retract their concession speech to really mess with voters' minds. Nearly 3,000 votes disappeared during the machine recount of Florida's midterm races. I mean, I understand it happens at home with my washing machine, with my children's socks. I put them in, and nothing comes out. I mean, it's equally serious where I come from. My kids need to be able to walk. And in Arizona too, my trusty spider senses tell me it was a dubious win at best for bisexual Kristen Sinema. I mean, why do people do that? Why do they have to spell their names with a Y? Kristen. Are you Kristen? No, I'm Kristen Sinema. I mean, I guess it's a swing state, and maybe it's just great sexually to also swing either way. Your Republican candidate, who I look forward to meeting in a dark corridor one day, gave her concession speech while hugging her golden retriever and knitting her own yogurt so that people would say she was a nice person. 1 minute, you're a fighter pilot, and the next, some wet weekend from the Hallmark Channel on a blooming pet rescue show. What happened? Where did she go? McSally. Who wants to be nice? I had a teacher, a nun, called Sister Bede. She taught me nice was not a word. Nice is not a word, Katie Hopkins. A non-word, a meaningless thing. I may have taken that advice a bit too far. Mind you, Sister Bede also strapped my left arm behind my back because I used to write left-handed. And she told me good Catholics are right-handed. So maybe she wasn't that nice after all. And also, point being, I never ever got to be Virgin Mary at my convent Catholic school because my parents weren't Catholics. And that taught me a lesson for life. Don't be a virgin. That's not what you should be learning when you come out of a nunnery. In conclusion, friends, the result of all of this, the destruction of the family unit, the ruination of a country's identity, the violation of our faith in democracy itself, we are left wondering what the hell we can put our faith in. And furthest down this path are our fellow South Africans. You know, I spent 3 weeks in country with white farmers in South Africa, being systematically cleansed from their land. I traveled to sit with and understand families of the victims and survivors of the relentless attacks by black gangs that can go on between 3 to 6 hours while the white farmers and their wives and children are tortured. I lived on the farms of future victims, just as I promised you I would a year ago, almost to the day, right here. I wanted to share their fears for the monsters that can come in the night. The last days of the whites in South Africa are upon us. A serving police officer told me it will all be over in under 2 years. My new farming friends, big, bold Boers whose grandfathers turned the bushveld into fertile land, are now preparing to make one last stand. They are strapping in for the final fight, preparing for a new battle, the river of blood. And they say they will die in their boots and spill their blood for the land, because they will not leave the place of their fathers. Sitting with one farmer, Bernard, on his stoop, overlooking his little farm, incredibly poor where he lives. It's why they can't leave. They don't have the money to leave. His father on that stoop was beaten to death by the black gangs. His wife was strung up with fencing wire, and his 11-year-old son was shot at. His 8-year-old son can no longer leave the house because he witnessed all of this, is on antidepressants, still can't sleep, and says he wants to kill himself because he wants to be reunited with his grandfather. But you know, perversely, it is in the face of this deeply upsetting tragedy of biblical proportions that we too can find comfort and hope. Comfort in their enduring faith, despite the callousness of the land, and hope in their determination to retreat to a defendable space that they can maintain, to fight on for their land. Bernard told me as he looked out over his farm, he still has faith in 2 things, God and the land. And I believe they are a glimpse into our future. Like them, we will build more walls, not to keep people out, but to keep the people we love safe inside. We will pull back close in with our family in the broadest sense to a space we can defend, defendable space. For many of my lovely Jewish friends, this land is Israel. Many have already made the move from the UK. For Christians in Western Europe, I believe we will move east to Poland and to Hungary, countries where they know what it means to be invaded and to lose everything, and are now proud defenders of our Christian culture. And right here at Restoration Weekend, we are joined as a family, setting out the space we are fighting to defend. And it is a family that extends to the supporters of Bolsonaro in South America, to Salvini in Italy, to the AfD who helped overthrow Merkel just this election in Germany, woo! To Orban in Hungary, to the Law and Order Party in Poland, and to the true French patriots led by Marine Le Pen. Vive Marine, vive Marine. We are united in our fight for freedom and to keep the people we love safe inside. And we commit to three things. We will fight for the traditional family unit. I will never identify as Keith, but I will strive to have the kahunas of 10 men. We will fight for our country. I am a nationalist, and I am proud to be one. And we will fight for democracy, because a vote is a voice for the people who really deserve a say. Our South African brothers and sisters are leading the way, readying themselves to make one last stand. Together, we can do this. We promise we will keep the faith in God and in the land. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Time for one question. So let's start with
I can stay after as well to answer questions.
What are chances for Anne-Marie Waters getting really something done in Britain?
So we're at the point in the UK, I think, that the fall is underway. It's very unlikely we can resist that fall. There is a managed decline of the UK. However, whether we achieve effective political leadership or not, whether we can achieve even a seat in Parliament, whether Anne-Marie can do that, is not so much of importance. What is of more importance is that regular people, the mums and dads that write to me, probably to Anne-Marie, the people who believe all hope is lost, people like Anne-Marie, people like Tommy, people like, others out there fighting the good fight. It matters that we are there because it matters that they feel that there is still some sense of knowing who we are and what we used to be, that we still fight on to defend the country we used to recognize. So we may not achieve political power, but I'm increasingly of the opinion, that maybe political power doesn't matter. Maybe it's more about the movement of people who are ideologically fighting for the same thing. And that's how I honestly feel.